good morning. Well, it's Thanksgiving Day, and guess what? We're going to make stuffing. You've all had stuffing. It goes in the bird. We all grew up with it. And the typical stuffing was made with dry bread, celery, onions, sometimes sausage or bacon, put together in a mix. And it was sage, typically sage, and it's very good, and we all love it. Well, this is a more modern take on the same type of a recipe. So what we're going to use is we have fresh sage, we have celery, we have shallots, which are a little brighter and sharper than onions. We have some pancetta, which is, people call it Italian bacon, but it's not a smoked meat, but it's made from the belly just like bacon is. You can get this in any deli market and often just normal supermarkets. And we're going to cut these all up, saute them, and then we're going to mix them with what we'll show you later will be some good rough bread, and then we'll add some other ingredients, sausage, macadamia nuts, and a few things, and we'll add that a little later. So at this point in time, I'm going to chop a few of the ingredients just to show you how we do it, and then I'll continue to chop them. You don't have to watch all that, and then we'll go to the rest of the program. So, okay, let's get started. I'll chop a little bit of the sage just to show you, and then I'll go on to some other ingredients, and then off camera we'll do the meat and chopping because you don't want to watch all that. So I'm just taking the sage leaves, chopping them up fairly small, but not, they don't have to be minced. I'm going to blend in the sage, in the dressing. And then what I do when I'm working like this and have multiple ingredients, I get a work plate. And I put these things on it, so when I get them ready I can have all the ingredients and they're not in my way here. The next thing we're going to do is chop a little celery. I've taken the pieces of celery and split them, and the actual ingredients, the quantities are going to scroll on the screen, so you'll have seen that. But I take them, and again, I've cut the strips lengthways to make them finer, and then I just chop them. Not real fine, but not real coarse. That might even be a little too fine. I'll make that a little bigger. Because you want a little bit of tooth in this dressing when you're eating it. So there we are with some start of our celery. We're going to put that on our work plate. There you go. And then we're going to use shallots. Now I said shallots are like a sharper onion. I took one, you can say I opened it up to start chopping, and here's what I did. I just cut it like this. And there's any way to chop these. There's no magic in this. This is just the way I find good. I take these pieces, the long greens running that way, and I just chop them. And you'll notice I have a pretty sharp knife. You see that's a little big. Those pieces actually are broken somewhat, so when you chop them, they're pretty fine. And I'll go ahead and chop a little bit more. And again, as you chop, you'll get a little more practice with it. It's not that hard to do. At first you feel a little awkward. When you are chopping, one thing to remember if you're not experienced with this, you always hold a little with your fingertips in. You don't want to get the end of your fingers. I know it seems obvious, but once people chop fast, they've always got their fingers curved in. So if they come down a little close, there's nothing for them to hit. So that's enough to demonstrate that. You can see that, so I'll put that on my work plate. And now we're going to dice up a little bit of the pancetta. And as I told you what it was before, so we'll just cut this in little pieces like this. And what I do, by the way, when I go to the store, this comes in a roll just like lunch meat at the store, and you get it sliced. I get it sliced in a couple ounce pieces, and I freeze a bunch of them with plastic in between. So when I have a recipe, I just pull out the 2 or 3 that I need. So I'm not always running to the store for special ingredients. So I just cut them, chop them up. It's not all that fine. We're going to cook this, and like bacon, it's going to reduce in size when we're doing it. And there you have it. We've chopped this up. Goes on our work plate. And if these things run together, it doesn't matter. They're all going to get cooked in the same pot. So there we are. We've shown you how to prep these preliminary ingredients. I'll go ahead and cut the rest of these off camera, and then we'll come back and look at the next steps. Well, here we are. It took a few minutes, and went ahead and finished prepping those ingredients that we looked at earlier. And so what we have here on the plate are the celery, the sage, the shallots, the pancetta that you sauce. saw me prepare. Now, these aren't the only ingredients, and I'm going to show you some of the other ingredients, and they come at a later stage. Because first we're going to take these ingredients, we're going to put them in a pan with about a quarter cube of butter and saute them until they're soft, and then they go in the stuffing. But then what we have are the other ingredients. The main ingredient shown in stuffing is often bread. So this isn't all of it, but I showed you roughly to see how it's cut. And what I have are about 2 loaves, 2 sort of medium-sized loaves of a rougher bread, like a ciabatta or a country bread. We want something with a little texture and tooth, not just a sandwich bread. I've got about a pound of sausage. I have 2/3 cup of macadamia nuts, a couple eggs. These happen to be nice fresh farm eggs. About 2/3 cup of dried apricots, some ground nutmeg, salt, and pepper. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take this and saute it, and then we'll move on to our next steps. Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to prepare all these ingredients. So I have a pan on the stove, and I'm going to add some butter, about 4 heavy tablespoons. The pan's already been heated. I had it heated a little before we were there. In fact, it looks like it might be heated a little bit too much. It's smoking awful hard. We'll turn on our fan. And it shouldn't be quite that hot. It's okay. It'll just cool. I just took it off the plate. So we get the butter melted, and then we're going to start working on our ingredients. Now, if you don't have a pan big enough, if there's too many, just do it in batches. It won't hurt. So I'm going to start with the onion first. Stir it around, start getting it softened, and then I'll add the other ingredients until we get done. I'll throw a few in here just to show you, but I'll wait a little bit before we add them all. And this is really all you do. So this is really it. You just watch, you're going to saute them. Given our quantity, it's going to take us 10 minutes or so, so they're just soft. We're not getting them done. Remember, they're going to get baked in the oven with the other ingredients. So we soften them and get a little flavor rendered out of that pancetta before we go on to the next step. Well, we're about done here. I'm sauteing those ingredients you saw us put in the pan. And again, we're just cooking to get them a little bit soft, get some flavor spread. They're pretty well done. And then during the process, I've added a little salt and pepper, and you can do that to taste, and you can adjust the seasoning later. And so now we have this done. I'm just going to set this aside, and we can go on and prepare the rest of our ingredients. Well, here we are again. We're about to finish off this recipe so we can get the stuffing in the oven and get to the good part, the eating. So to remember, I sauteed those vegetables, and you saw those. Then I took that sausage you saw, and I sauteed it a little bit off camera. I didn't really cook it, but I just gave it a little bit of color. It would cook in the stuffing, but I just think this looks better. Then I took the apricots you saw, chopped them up. The macadamia nuts you saw were chopped up. The eggs were whipped up, and remember I had some nutmeg on the counter. I put that in there and whipped it in with the eggs. And so we're all ready to go. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put these ingredients in the main component of the stuffing, the bread. And as I told you, we used sort of a loaf, a country loaf, some bread that's got a little substance, or as we say, tooth, just like you say with spaghetti. Al dente needs tooth. And so you want bread that I've cut it open and let it dry for a few hours, so you pick it up and push it, it doesn't just stick together, it'll fall back apart. And it's a ciabatta or a French bread, but something with a little texture. So now, simple as this, we're going to put our ingredients in. And let's get them all together. And then we're going to put in, I'm going to mix them, so I sprinkle them around a little bit just to help it get dispersed. The apricots, the macadamia nuts. All around. Then I'm just going to spread the egg over. And remember that had that little bit of nutmeg in it. And now we're just going to toss it and get it all stirred up. And then when we're done, it's going to go in the oven. Now here, sometimes you have to make a judgment. You know, some bread is more dry than others. Loaves aren't the exact size. You never quite know how it's going to come out. So when you get this ready, you take a look. And to my eye, this looks like it could wind up a little bit dry. And then also that depends on how you like your stuffing. Some people like it quite moist, some people like it quite dry. But to my eye, this is going to be just a touch dry. So I'm just taking a little bit of chicken broth and just sprinkling a little bit in, not very much. Because it just, I think the loaves of bread were a little bit bigger than normal, so I just had a little bit more bread than I usually have. You know, as I think about it, you might want to add a little bit more moisture. We tend to like our stuffing a bit dry, and I think you should add it, especially the first time, you should add enough chicken broth, moisture, so it feels a little moist to your fingertips when you kind of ruffle through the bread. So you try that the first time, and if it's too moist for you, you can change it, but I think that might be a better result. And once you've made it, you'll have a feel for that. So this is really it. Now I'm finished tossing it. It's going to go into an oven at 350 degrees. It's going to bake 35 to 45 minutes, and you'll test it. And remember, the ingredients here will cook easily, the egg and things. So it's just a matter of getting it as done as you'd like it. A little bit of brown crust on top. And there you go, put it into your turkey and gravy. Thanks for watching.